Welcome to Bullseye Movies Recaps channel. Episode 3 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage quietly but powerfully pulls the curtain back on the long-term emotional consequences of George Cooper Sr.'s death. Rather than focusing on the immediate shock or chaos of losing him, which young Sheldon never fully had the time to explore, this episode zeroes in on something far more complicated and uncomfortable. What happens when the people you love begin to heal, and you're not ready for them to? The episode opens in a deceptively calm way. Georgie is already awake before sunrise, sitting at the kitchen table with paperwork spread out in front of him. He's calculating expenses, reviewing numbers, and drinking cold coffee. Mandy watches him from the hallway, noticing how rigid his posture is, how his jaw tightens every time he flips a page. This has become his routine since George's death. Constant motion, constant productivity, no room to sit still. Mandy gently asks if he ever plans to take a morning off. Georgie shrugs it off with his usual forced optimism, cracking a joke about how someone has to keep the lights on. Mandy smiles, but it's clear she doesn't entirely buy it. Across town, Mary Cooper is doing something that would have seemed impossible a year earlier. She's standing in front of her mirror, trying on a dress that isn't meant for church or mourning. The camera lingers on her expression, hesitation mixed with guilt. She still wears her wedding ring, though she twists it nervously as she stares at her reflection. Missy sits on Mary's bed, scrolling through her phone, offering blunt opinions about the outfit. Surprisingly, she's supportive. She tells her mom that the dress looks fine, and adds, almost casually, that Dad wouldn't want Mary to be lonely forever. That line hits Mary hard. She sits down beside Missy, admitting that she's been asked out, nothing serious, just coffee. She expected Missy to protest or withdraw, but instead, Missy shrugs and says, "It's been a year and a half, Mom. You're allowed to be happy." This moment is one of the episode's quietest and most revealing. Missy, who once struggled the most with her father's death, now seems to have processed her grief in a way that allows her to move forward. She's grown sharper, more self-aware, and unexpectedly compassionate. Mary isn't sure how to feel about that. Later that day, Georgie stops by Mary's house to drop off some paperwork she helped him with months earlier, the loan documents that allowed him to keep his business afloat. Mary thanks him warmly, proud of the man he's become. She hesitates, then casually mentions her coffee plans. The shift in Georgie is immediate. His smile fades, replaced by confusion, then discomfort. He asks who she's meeting. When Mary explains it's just someone from church, Georgie stiffens. He tries to laugh it off, but the tension is obvious. He mutters something about it being too soon. Mary is stunned. She gently reminds him that it's been over a year. Georgie counters that time doesn't matter, that some things aren't supposed to be replaced. The word replaced hangs heavy in the room. Missy overhears from the hallway and steps in, defending Mary. She points out that Dad is gone, not forgotten. Georgie snaps back that they're acting like he never existed at all. That's when the argument explodes. Georgie accuses them both of moving on too fast, of pretending everything is fine. Mary fires back that Georgie doesn't get to dictate how she grieves. Missy reminds him that he moved out, got married, and started a new life while they stayed behind in the house where Dad died. The truth of that cuts deep. Georgie leaves abruptly, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. On the drive home, his frustration turns inward. He remembers his father's voice, his advice, the weight of suddenly becoming the man of the family. The episode makes it clear, Georgie didn't just lose his dad, he inherited a responsibility he never asked for. At home, Mandy notices something is wrong. Georgie snaps at her over something small, then immediately apologizes. Mandy pushes him to talk. At first, he resists, insisting it's nothing. But eventually, the truth comes out. He admits that seeing his mom move on feels like losing his dad all over again. Mandy listens quietly as Georgie explains that while everyone else seems to be healing, he feels stuck. His grief didn't look like sadness, it looked like responsibility. He took over bills, work, decisions. He never gave himself time to mourn because someone always needed him. Mandy gently points out that maybe Mary dating doesn't mean she's forgetting George, it means she survived losing him. Georgie isn't ready to hear that. Meanwhile, Mary sits alone in her living room, staring at a framed photo of George. She speaks to it softly, confessing her guilt. She says she still loves him, that she always will, but she's tired of being lonely. This is one of the episode's most emotional moments, emphasizing that moving on doesn't mean letting go. Later that evening, Georgie returns to Mary's house. The tension is thick, but quieter now. He apologizes, not for how he feels, but for how he handled it. Mary admits she should have told him sooner. They talk honestly for the first time about George's death. Georgie confesses that he still hears his dad's voice every time he makes a decision. That he feels like if he stops working, everything will fall apart. Mary finally says what she's been holding back: Georgie didn't fail his father. He honored him. Missy joins them, admitting that she pretended to be okay because being angry all the time hurt too much. The family doesn't fully resolve their pain, but they acknowledge it together. The episode ends not with closure, but with understanding. Mary decides to go on the coffee date, not because she's replacing George, but because she deserves companionship. Georgie doesn't fully accept it, but he promises to try. Missy hugs them both, relieved to finally speak honestly. As Georgie leaves, he pauses at the doorway, glancing back at the house where his father once stood. The weight of his grief hasn't lifted, but it's no longer invisible. Don't forget to like, share and comment on our channel for more recaps.